Good evening, everyone. I talk loud as is, so I apologize for that. Directors, would each of you please begin by telling us a little bit about yourself, your background, and what motivates you to come to work every day?
I'll start. Good evening, everyone. I am a native of Cleveland, Ohio, born and raised, and I came to Columbus to go to Ohio State. And after I graduated from Ohio State, I met my husband, and I told him, we were dating at the time, and I said, if I find a job, I'll stay here. If not, I'm going home. So 30 years later, I'm still here. I worked in nonprofit and the government sector. I worked at the United Way of Central Ohio. I think it was the United Way of Franklin County then, and also worked with the American Heart Association. I think all of the jobs that I've had, I didn't know it then, but I think all of the jobs that I've had have led me to where I am now. I can look back at every job that I've had that has helped to prepare me for where I am now.
Director Pettis.
Thank you. Like Carla, all of my jobs involved serving the public. I can remember all the way back to when I was 14 years old and worked at Joe Wood's Shoe Repair. I was serving the public by repairing and shining their shoes. When I graduated from high school, I was hired by the Ohio State University Hospital, and worked at Dodd Hall. And once again, I was serving people, the quadriplegics, paraplegics. It was the OSU Rehab Center. And it just so happened that the head nurse there told me, I was an orderly, and she said, Ned, I'd like to see you do better. They are recruiting for the fire department at the fire station on Champion and Long. You should sign up. I think you would be a great firefighter. And that was how it started. That was how I ended up applying for the fire department. It turned out to be my niche. It seemed to be a natural for me. I loved helping people and saving people, and I think it helped to prepare me for everything that followed.
Wonderful, thank you. Director William Scott. The Department of Neighborhoods is a brand new department. What will this new department be doing, and what does it mean for the residents in the city of Columbus?
The Department of Neighborhoods combines 4 areas that were previously housed in other departments. So we have the 311 Call and Customer Service Center that was formerly housed. Sorry about that. It was formerly housed in the Public Service Department. We have the Community Relations Commission that was a standalone department, and the Neighborhood Pride Program and Neighborhood Liaison Program that was housed in the Department of Development. And so bringing all 4 of those areas under one roof, it's our goal to be able to provide seamless customer service. You know, each of those areas work with some of the same groups and folks in the community, work with the area commissions and civic associations. You know, those are the folks that work with their community, with their neighbors to call in to 311 when there are issues or challenges that they need the city to work on. And so by having all of those areas under one roof and having the staff together, we can talk to each other and make sure that we're responding and hopefully, like I said, in a seamless way to residents. Our department will also be the point for the mayor's team in working with our target areas of Linden and the Hilltop. You know, Mayor Ginther says over and over again that his top 3 priorities are neighborhoods, neighborhoods, neighborhoods. And I firmly believe that as well. You know, he also says that, you know, some of our neighborhoods have not enjoyed the prosperity that other areas in our city have. And so it's my goal as the director of the Department of Neighborhoods to pull my team together to make sure that we are out there doing whatever we can to help empower residents, our community, so that everybody can enjoy that prosperity.
Thank you. Director Pettis, beginning next year, our officers will be outfitted with body cameras. Can you tell us more about the program and what it means to our residents?
Sure. What body cameras mean for our residents and our police department is that it's the wave of the future. The example that I used when I was first appointed as the safety director, I told the mayor and the reporter that when I was appointed fire chief in 2002, we didn't have computers in the fire stations. And when I retired in 2012, we couldn't do without computers in the fire station. So we have to keep pace with technology and best practices and the progress that's being made in the nation. The research indicates that 95% of large police departments have committed to or have already implemented body cameras. And on a more informal basis, there has been the reputation of law enforcement around the country that there's a code of silence. And when you have body cameras and when you have video of what happens, that eliminates the need or the benefits of a code of silence, because you have video of what happened and what got said. And studies have shown that not only police officers, but citizens, everyone acts better when they know they're being recorded. And it's good evidence, but there are some caveats that go with it. The implementation of this technology entails the delicate balance between community protection, civil rights, accountability, transparency, and individual privacy rights for public and officers. You know, there are HIPAA requirements. Officers are often on the scene of motor vehicle accidents, or even when someone is hurt or injured, where your medical information is private. So we work diligently with members from the community and professionals to put together a proposal to change the Ohio Revised Code so that certain things can be redacted, because the way the Public Information Act is right now, everything would be a public record. Well, there are some things that would get recorded that don't need to be a public record, that don't need to be made public to everyone. So we're working very hard with all of the details and all of the nuances, but it will bring protection to everyone involved.
Thank you so much. Director William Scott, what can residents of this neighborhood do to get involved with the Department of Neighborhoods?
I would say some of the things you're doing already, like coming out tonight. We appreciate that, and it shows your commitment and your involvement to not just the city, but in particular to your community. I think the other thing is to, if you're not already involved in your area commissions and civics, to get involved. You know, they always say, the saying is, if you're not at the table, then you're part of the meal. And so you have to be at the table so that your voice can be heard. Get involved. And what I would encourage all of you that already are involved is to mentor someone and bring someone along the way. It is extremely important that we look at our young people and that we get them involved and we get them on the area commissions and civic associations. And not only get them involved, but get them actively engaged. Earlier this week, I was in a group, in a meeting with several millennials. And one of the things they talked about was getting involved in the community, but not staying involved, because young people are at a point where they're used to having everything happen now. And some of us who are more seasoned, we like to think about it, talk about it, plan about it, meet about it, and talk about it some more. And so when we do that, we lose the interest of those young people who can come to the table and have some great ideas and who are the future of our communities. And so I would encourage you to mentor, bring somebody along the way so that when you're ready to pass the torch, there's somebody there to pass it to.
Okay, Director Pettis, what can we do as neighborhood leaders to help the Department of Safety, whether that be police or fire, as far as from a community perspective?
I'm so glad you asked that question. One of the reasons I believe Mayor Ginther appointed me as the Director of Public Safety was because we worked together when he was the Public Safety Chair and I was the Fire Chief. He saw my passion for improving diversity in the fire department. We've come a long way, but we have not come nearly far enough. And Mayor Ginther saw that I wouldn't back down, I wouldn't change course, or if people didn't like me and wouldn't allow me into the clique, it wouldn't deter me. I suppose I was kind of like a pit bull for improving diversity on the fire department. Over the course of 10 years in being the fire chief, I won the respect of both the blacks and the whites because of my own personal integrity, which for me personally is that of a Christian. And I treated everyone fair, but I refused to turn a blind eye to the need for more diversity in public safety. And after I won that respect, the Central Ohio Fire Museum provided me with information and a PowerPoint presentation that depicted the Negro Fire Station on Mount Vernon and 20th Avenue that was in existence until the mid-1950s. And it was done away with. The department was integrated. We had nearly 900 firefighters, 14 African Americans. And so when I applied for the department in 1973, we still had about 14 or 15 African Americans. We all failed the test. A lawsuit was filed, a consent decree was entered into, and hiring was then under the consent decree 1-for-1 for 11 years. So we went up to 223. The size of the department has doubled, and there are nearly 1,600 members, and we're losing all of that diversity that we gained under the federal consent decree. The challenge is what we've learned is that advertising, marketing, and job fairs just won't do it, and it won't replace the robust hiring that occurred for that 11 years under a federal consent decree. So in answer to your question, what the community can do is something similar to what that head nurse did for me. She inspired me to sign up and take the test. We need everyone in the community to identify potential candidates to be police officers and firefighters. Mayor Ginther, one of his goals is for public safety to reflect the makeup of the community. That's a very good goal, but it's a very difficult goal. We have over 1,900 police officers and about 200 minorities. So we have about 1/3 of the diversity that we need. And I shared with the mayor, you have budgeted me to hire 70 police officers next year. So for me to gain more than 400 minorities, even if half of those 70s were minorities, it would take almost 15 years. We can't do it without the help of the community. And one of our pledges is if you encourage your sons and daughters, nieces, nephews, and people that you know to become police officers and firefighters, we will take care of them. And so that's my pledge to you. That was my pledge to the firefighters. We took care of them. Our highest priority on both police and fire is life safety for everyone. So that's what the community can do, is they can aggressively and assertively help us to do what we weren't able to do in the past, help us to achieve what we have never achieved before, and that's improve diversity on our police department and on our fire department.
Thank you. I have another question for you, Director Pettis. In the wake of the recent police-involved shooting, can you tell us what work your department is doing?
The biggest and best thing that we can do is have dialogue with the community, and we are actively doing that. We are educating the public as to what the police procedures are, what the laws are, what's required, where authority is. For instance, The authority lies at the county level for prosecution and for a special prosecutor. That authority is with the county prosecutor. The procedure is that cases that the prosecutor determines might need to be prosecuted are presented to a grand jury. And the grand jury makes its decision as to whether to indict or not. Then they send it back to the prosecutor, who still decides whether there is enough evidence to proceed with the case. From the fire department experience, shortly after I was appointed chief, we had an arson fire in the OSU campus area and 6 students died. The prosecutor decided not to pursue prosecuting the case because he felt the case was weak, and if he lost, he would never be able to try the suspect again. So that's how the system works. The mayor can't unilaterally change that. The safety director or the police chief can't unilaterally change that. The public can by voting. We've reviewed the 10 largest police departments in America that are accredited, like Columbus Police, and we found only 3 that use external investigations, and that's based on state law. We don't have that same type of state law here. That doesn't mean it couldn't be changed, but once again, those of us at the city level can't change it ourselves. So we have to use the policies and procedures and the local laws that are in place now and have dialogue to educate the public and help them to decide how they want us to move forward together.
Thank you. I have time for some questions. So if you guys want to start passing your cards towards Dawn, that would be great. My last question for now is, you both have been in your positions for a few months. Can you tell us some of the new things that you'll be doing in your departments that haven't been done or broached before?
In terms of new things, we're going to continue working with what we've had, first of all. Want to see what works and what doesn't work. But when we move, so the Department of Neighborhoods will be moving into the Point of Pride building in Linden sometime in early 2017. And so some of the new things that the department will be doing is focusing and working in Linden. We will, boots on the ground, all hands on deck. It will be the entire team. We will be working with other community partners to have a strategy in Linden to look at education, health, employment, housing, and we'll also be working with our Smart Columbus grant that the city received earlier, and some of those dollars will also go into Linden. And I want people throughout the city to be sure that when we say we're working in Linden and Hilltop, that doesn't mean that we're forgetting about other areas. But if you look at some of the areas where, where I said some of our residents haven't realized some of the prosperity that others have, those are 2 areas of the community that are in need. And not to say that there aren't others as well.
Thank you. Does anyone in the audience have questions? If you want to ask your question, great. There's a microphone. If you could just state your name.
Hi, my name is Linda Jones, and my question is, when you made reference to how the procedures went, and it went to the, the prosecutor, the procedures for prosecution. Will it ever, first, I have a couple of questions. Will it ever be an opportunity if things don't seem to be able to be resolved, that it could be passed off to, for a federal prosecutor? That's my first question.
There's always the opportunity to appeal to the federal government if you feel that your civil rights have been violated. So you don't have to wait on the grand jury or the county prosecutor's case. You can always contact the federal government if you feel that your civil rights have been violated.
I'm talking more, okay, I'm sorry. I'm talking more of federal investigation, the possibility for that, because I don't know how anybody feels about the little 13-year-old boy being shot, and I'm not addressing that, but more of a way to address it in a proactive fashion to where it's not a closed shop and you're closed-minded about the possibility of allowing a federal investigation.
You're talking about bringing in the Justice Department to do the investigation.
Yes.
Yeah, that's always a possibility. It's not that the city will regularly request it, and the Justice Department has the authority and the right to determine that they don't see reasonable cause to intervene. That's happened here before, and it was challenged, and I believe it was Chief Jackson was the police chief at the time, and the Justice Department did not file a lawsuit, and nothing was done. It's been different in other places. As we all know, in Ferguson, Missouri, the Justice Department intervened, and I believe in Tulsa, they intervened right away because they had video. They saw things that were questionable. But when an investigation is not on the surface questionable, they won't automatically intervene. I believe the NAACP has sent a letter to the Justice Department requesting a Justice Department investigation here. We have not heard back whether they will or not. But many times they review the investigation that's done locally. Okay.
Okay, my next question is about when you made the reference of redacting the HIPAA information, which that is clearly federal law, and everybody understands it, but will there be someone, we already don't trust what's been presented, like the recent thing in North Carolina, where they are gradually releasing as they see fit, and it is a horrid form of redacting by just releasing incriminating video or video that makes more questions than answers when you know there's more videos because more officers had body cameras on, but they're doing a limited release. And so it makes the public not trusting of the police department, self-included. So when you start talking about redacting, is there any kind of way that someone can, maybe a third party, an unbiased third party can review if redacting is appropriate? Because let's say something happens where you're redacting the HIPAA part, but something happens in that same frame of the video.
Right. That's an excellent question.
Oh, I'm good at them.
Part of the answer is there are different policies in different states. I'm not sure what North Carolina's is. I have been told that in California, their law is they don't release the video at all. The proposal, and I only brought one copy, but you're welcome to have this copy of the City of Columbus Body-Worn Camera Committee report and recommendations. And in Ohio, all of it's public record except for would be a violation of the law. For instance, if an officer goes in the house and there are people who are nude, particularly those who are underage, well, if that's made a public record and broadcast, that would also be pornography and child pornography. That's against the law. So clearly that would need to be redacted. We say redacted because what would be released is a copy of the original video. The whole original video will be kept according to what the law requires on public retention of public records.
So kind of what you're saying is that it's not going to be possible to have an unbiased third party look and say, well, okay, I agree with I agree with the Read Act.
Yeah, the judge.
Yeah, the judge.
Anybody can always appeal what they feel should be a public record. I think you read in the news all the time when different agencies refuse to release to the press certain records, and the press will file a lawsuit, and then a judge decides whether this is public record or not. But based on the policy that's been proposed here, the original video will be kept by the City of Columbus, and then if by policy there is something on the video that should not be a public record, the copy would be made and that would be redacted, whether it's your health information or nude children in the house or whatever it is that shouldn't be released to the public. It would be redacted on the copy, but the original tape with everything on it would still be in existence, and the judge and the attorneys could review it so that they as a third party could determine whether it should be released or not.
Okay, and you're saying HIPAA and other sensitive information, that's correct?
That's correct.
Thank you. Director Pettis, just to follow up with that, can you explain to the community how the body camera records will be housed and whether those will be civilian jobs or whether they will be police department?
They're still working on how the footage will be stored. They started with 6 vendors. They had to go out for bid with different vendors. They started with 6. They narrowed it down to 2. I believe a decision has been made. It's in the purchasing department, and it hasn't been made clear as to whether the footage will be stored in a cloud type of system or whether it will be stored on hard equipment at the City of Columbus.
And those that view it to do the redaction, will those be civilians or?
Yes, those would be civilian
So they will be
jobs.
civilian jobs.
Yeah.
Thank you. Mr. Rayford, who actually is the chair of the Near East Area Commission where we sit today, welcome, and your question?
My question is, several weeks ago we had a meeting at Mount Hermon Missionary Baptist Church, and we had a police officer there, and the community spoke very highly of that police officer. And I made the comment then that I thought he was the best kept secret that we have. And I see the gentleman here now, this gentleman right here.
Officer Dave.
Sir, would you come up, please? Now, I only met him about a month ago.
That'd be right.
And this gentleman here, our community feels so strongly about this gentleman, and I can't understand why the safety department, the police department, has not sent this young man out to our schools to talk to our students about joining the police department. This man would be an excellent person to do that. He's a Christian man, he's a police officer first, not Christian man first.
Amen.
Amen. Okay.
Amen.
Then he's a police officer, and he works well within the community. I think this would be great for him to share with the entire police staff about what it is like to be a police officer and do community policing. He's a good example of that. The Brittany Hill community, works very well with him, and they swear by him. Okay? So I just think, Safety Director Pettis, that you should look into why the police department has not done something about getting this gentleman out into our schools, to all of our commission meetings, to all of our civic association meetings, to help recruit our young men, to become police officers.
Thank you.
Okay?
Thank you.
You know, that's what we need in our communities. You know, I want to say it the right way. He's a white man working in our black community, but because of his Christian values, he knows how to work with people. And I think maybe that should be part of the training for our police officers and firefighters who are working within our black community, okay? I think we should get into our schools early and talk to our young people about becoming police officers and firefighters. If we wait until they're in the 12th grade, many of them have gone astray. Many of them may have some type of record, you know, that will prohibit them from being considered to be a police officer or a firefighter. You know, years ago, I think it was, Columbus started a cadet program. I don't know, I think they call it a cadet program. This young lady said Explorers program. Do we still have such a program going on?
Yes, there are Explorer programs. I don't know if there is an inner city Explorers program, but we are looking into a number of initiatives like that.
You know, that's where it starts, Director. You know, get them while they're young, grow them up, you know, to be whatever they want to be, you know, what we want them to be. We want to have people like us in our community policing us. We want to have, you know, we have one of the best fire stations in the city of Columbus. You know, the fire station here on Stelzer Road over here. You know, these guys come out to all of our commission meetings. They never miss a time. They're always there to assist us. You know, they're great. They're great. So as the chairperson for the Northeast Area Commission, I can't say any bad things about our fire department or our police department because they work well with our community. And I think we need to fix it so that they are more available. You know, I've been trying to get them to come to the recruiting class to come to Mount Hermon Missionary Baptist Church, one of the larger black churches in the neighborhood, and tell them about being a police officer. Tell them the values of police officers. Tell them about the job opportunities, the career opportunities for police officers. I think that is so key. You know, we're doing it the wrong way. We're not doing it right, you know. Years ago, we tried that, you know, and it worked for a while. You know, we were going out on Mount Vernon Avenue looking for police officers. Really? Years ago, Mount Vernon Avenue had nothing but bars, and we were trying to recruit police officers in that environment. You cannot recruit them in that environment. You have to make sure you go into the right environment in order to recruit black firefighters and black police officers. Now, that's enough about the fire and the police. Our communities. Decisions are made in our communities about where we're going to spend money. I'm so glad to see that we're finally getting some money in the Northeast area to get our roads fixed. We're getting curbs put in, you know. I don't know when that decision was made, but I'm thankful for that. We see in the Northeast area that one of the fastest growing areas in the city that we've been neglected. We've been out here asking for additions onto this recreation center for years. We've been out here asking for a swimming pool for the last 30 years. Do you realize one of the fastest growing areas in the city of Columbus, we have no swimming pool here? What do our kids do in the summertime when they want to swim? Where do they go? The closest pool that we have in our area is Windsor Pool. Our kids can't walk there. So what do our kids do?
I am happy to work with my colleagues at Recreation and Parks to find out what we can do. That's not in our purview, but we can work with the community to try and that's part of what the department can do.
Okay.
We want to be that catalyst to work with Recreation and Parks to talk about. I know they do have a plan where they have been upgrading some of the rec centers. I'm not part of those conversations, but I'm happy to either sit down and talk with you or try to get a meeting with yourself, myself, and folks from Recreation and Parks so that we can share some of these concerns with them.
I met with the new recreation director a week ago, Tony, and he said to me, he said, well, you know, that you're right. You know, you don't have, you know, your pool in the area, but we don't know whether we'll be able to put one there because we don't know about the monies that we have that's available to us. We see our monies being spent on a lot of different things, but, you know, in the Northeast area, you know, we think that we deserve everything that the Linden area, the Hilltop, and everyone else deserve in the Northeast area. We don't have it. We have been neglected. And then you talk about a bond package, you know, hey, our people are mad as hell. We're talking about not supporting a bond package, you know, because of the neglect that we've been getting. Okay? So I thank you guys for being here, and we want to support, be very supportive of the city. I campaigned for the mayor, you know, I went door to door, and to be an old man, to walk as many steps as I walked, you know, for the mayor. You know, we need to get some results of our labor, okay? So I thank you guys for being here. Chief Pettis, no, it's not Chief Pettis, but Director, you know, I have a business card I'd like to give you before you leave so that you'll remember who I am. Okay? Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Rayford. If you could please state your name.
Hello, my name is Eleanor Brown, and I'm here as a request from the Cumberland Ridge Civic Association to be part of this meeting. And my question is to Director Pettis in regards to the cameras that they will be buying for the policemen to have, the body cameras. My question is, what is the cost per camera?
That's the information that the final vendor will report to the City of Columbus. We narrowed it down to 2 vendors. The purchasing department has received the final information, so a selection has been made, and that determination will be sent to me and the purchasing director to sign off on. But right now, we don't have that information.
Okay, so you have 2 people that are bidding for that contract?
We had 6, we narrowed it to 2, and I've been informed that a determination has been made, but final approval will have to come from me and the purchasing director as soon as they present that information to us. We weren't provided with the details until all of the specifications and all of those things were ironed out. I was told last week that that's been done and a letter would be coming to me. I have not received that letter yet.
Now, the cameras, they'll be on all officers or just those that are patrolling?
They're going to phase it in, and they're going to start with the patrol officers, the traffic officers in uniform. They refer to them as first responders, so they won't be putting them on undercover officers or detectives or helicopter pilots and those who aren't actually responding and patrolling.
Okay. And then my next question is, will there be any federal grants or federal funding to help pay for the cameras?
At this juncture, no, we have not received any federal funding not for the body-worn cameras. It's coming out of the city's budget, most of it out of the general fund operating budget. Some might come from the capital budget for fiber and the underground hardware to support uploading the video.
Do you have any knowledge that if our government will allow municipalities to write grants to help fund the cameras?
The city's always seeking grant funding. To my knowledge, I don't know of any that are in the works or any grant funding that appears to be for the city of Columbus for body-worn cameras. I don't know of any that's been made available to us.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Before I pass on the next question, I just want to say I have a request for several questions, and we've had some really good responses and some wonderful, impactful things that you guys have said. In the interest of time and to make sure that we receive everyone's questions, I'm going to ask that everyone restrict their questions to one question, and if we have time to get back to your second and third question, we'll be more than happy to do so. Dr. Jindal, I have you next, and then I have this lady, and then I have Kay.
My name is Jindal, and first I want to appreciate that you started this meeting and to come to the community, not to meet in the office, but you are meeting in the community center. That is a great approach which we need in 2016. And then I will thank those people who just make it very receptive and very welcoming. You see the wall? So that is very important. The another thing is, which director you mentioned, that our family talk and family pressure is more than we go to the people and ask them to enroll in fire or in police. So when we talk in our family, we praise the attorneys, engineers, doctors, but we never praise the law enforcement officers. So our kids, they don't want to go there. They want to be there to whom we praise. So I think we should work hard on that. Thank you.
Thank you. I agree that, our public safety officials, particularly the police officers, need to have the public show some gratitude for the work that they do. They put their lives on the line every day. I believe that was Officer David Wilson, who Mr. Rayford brought up, and I met him at Lyndon McKinley, and everybody there loves him as well. Of the 1,904 uniformed members, I don't know if most of them are as well loved or are as good as he is, but I guarantee you most of them are really, really good. And what we found that when you have nearly 2,000 employees of any kind, there will be a few bad apples, but we as the public should not attribute that or apply that to the whole 2,000 because there are a few bad apples. Just the numbers alone would indicate that that would be the case, but the rest of them, any emergency where everyone else is running away, whether it's a burning building or facing down the barrel of a gun, these individuals are responding to help someone, and they're putting their lives on the line. They're laying it all on the line for someone else, and they do deserve some gratitude for that.
My name is S. Shalonda Robinson, and I live in Cumberland Ridge, and I want to ask about the status of sidewalks, because we need sidewalks really bad so that our children and neighbors can walk to Howard Recreation Center. We need them on Cassidy, and we also need sidewalks on Sunbury.
I would be happy to work with, actually that's through our Public Service Department, and I'll have my team and we'll work with, I do know that Public Service has a master plan, and they list out the communities and whether they're getting sidewalks or road repair or what, and there's a schedule on there. And so if you stay after, just so we can get your contact information, and we'll get that information and get back to you.
Hi, my name's Kay Wilson. Thank you so much for coming. Hi, Carla. I just wanted to ask, so you mentioned earlier about youth involvement, and one of the things that we work with our young people on, and we talk to City Council, is about things like participatory budgeting. So I was wondering what opportunities, both in safety, both in neighborhoods, that you all might implement where there can be youth involvement so we can get them more involved in civic activities.
We haven't gotten to the participatory budgeting here, but I do in another life, in another job. We were talking about that, and I would love for us to at some point get to to that at the city. But Kay, in answer to your question, in terms of getting youth involved, so my team and I have talked about a couple of things. Getting youth involved on our Community Relations Commission and getting young people involved where they would actually have a seat on an area commission or a civic association. The first thing we have to do, though, in terms of getting young people involved in the day-to-day work that we do, is kind of rethink how we do it. A lot of what we do is during the day when our young people are either at school or if they're young adults, they're at work. And so we have to try and figure out how to balance the work that we do and the needs of community involvement. But I think getting folks involved in the area commissions, civic associations, and with our Community Relations Commission, and I don't mean just coming to a meeting, I mean actually having a seat on the commission, having a voice where they take that back and they get other young people involved. Those are some of the things that we've talked about. We've just been in the department for a little over 2 months now, but that's kind of the plan, that the direction that we're headed. And you'll be definitely one of the first people we reach out to.
Thank you.
Hi, B. Tober. I want to first say thank you, Carla, thank you, Dr. Pettis, for all that you have done. I truly mean that. The Neighborhood Pride, we had Neighborhood Pride in Brittany Hill. It was our first one of this year. It was very successful. People came out, they applied. The staff was tremendous in helping everybody. So thank you for that. Might have been a little bit before you got here, but it's okay. It's still your staff, your team. Dr. Pettis, I want to thank you for all that you have done providing us, the firefighters in the past that you have. Outstanding job. Couldn't be any better. Couldn't ask for Columbus' finest. The police officers as well. They protect each and every one of us. We all should be thankful. So thank you for saying that, because truly I do thank you both for all that you have done. My question is this, and it'll go to you, Dr. Pettis. I agree with Mr. Rayford in saying that we need to get out early in life, because what tends to happen is the kids are, by the time they realize what they want to do, they've made some mistakes along the way. And often there's not too many mentors. I do a lot of mentoring, and I'm involved a lot with the youth. They're my passion. I would like to see that the city of Columbus would partner up with the schools and get into the schools, and everybody's talking about what happened. Well, a lot of times what happened is everybody's teaching their child differently at home. I mean, even my own daughter, who says, well, my son is afraid of the police. We've got Officer Dave in our community. He is there. He's there. I do a summer camp with Miss Marie here in the summertime. We help out there, but we are truly a village trying to raise these children. And I think we're back to the old school ways, if you will, and trying to make sure that everybody is involved and everybody takes stake, because the bottom line is they're our future. We're all getting older. And it's going to be them who take care of us. So I'm asking you, can you partner with Columbus City Schools to get into schools to not only be there to get to diversified within the areas of fire and police and teaching them what do you need to do early, but also teaching them what they need to do. If a police officer comes to you, should you run or should you stop? If you have something on you, should you stop, hold up your hands? Learn to obey the commands. I hate when I hear, it really saddens me when I hear that somebody is afraid of the police. There are many good police officers. Are there some bad? I'm sure. But I like it that they're going to put the body cameras out there, and this will help further along that little honesty, the transparency, so on and so forth. But if we could partner with the Columbus Public Schools and school systems, period, to help teach and educate. What should I do? If I'm in a car, I shouldn't go reaching for something automatically, because it can be misunderstood. Those people have to go home too. They want to go home to their loved ones as well. And you know it as well as I do. when you're doing a fire, you have certain rules that you have to follow and abide by just to make sure that your firefighter is going to go home safe as well. So can you provide or do something to partnership with the school system earlier on? And I do like the comment of getting people like Officer Dave. I personally wouldn't have a problem if you get some of these retired officers back, because there's a lot of good ones, to get some of them back in positions, be it part-time or whatever, to teach these kids, because they love them. They don't want you to be afraid of them. The last thing they want is to have to use their weapon against a 13-year-old. I assure you that that was not that man's thing. I'm sure that he does not feel good about what decision that he had to make. But at the same time, it was a decision that had to be made. So, thank you, and that's my question.
Well, thank you so much for your compliment, for your comments. And my Assistant Safety Director, Bob Stewart, is standing back by the door. I would ask him to come to the mic that you had to talk about programs that can teach young people what they should do in their encounters with police. As to your other point about partnering with Columbus City Schools, I've already met with Dr. Good. I met with him last week. We have proposed an academic partnership pipeline, and we're looking at trying to partner with Columbus City Schools, maybe the downtown high school, and Columbus State. Having participated in hiring for 10 years as the fire chief, I noticed some hiring patterns. And I've been told that the patterns are similar on the police department. The patterns that I noticed for 10 years is more than half of the firefighters that we hired were already paramedics and had prior experience or were already firefighters in Marietta and different communities. And I shared with the previous mayor, I almost never saw a minority that was already a paramedic or had any prior experience on the fire department. I've been told since I've been the safety director, there are similar patterns on the police department. I think one of the things that Mayor Ginther liked were some of my ideas, which include what you just suggested, what you just talked about, because one of the considerations that I shared is I saw most of the minorities taking a civil service exam on a whim. And so I asked Mayor Coleman, I said, if I could oversimplify it for you, it would be like the city announcing we're going to hire a lot of registered nurses, and don't worry about being a registered nurse because we will train you and certify you to become one. And when the test was administered, more than half of the whites were already registered nurses, and most of the minority, if not all of the minority candidates, were graduates from Columbus City Schools that heard about a civil service test and on a whim ran down to take the test. And so my question was, why would you expect them to be competitive? Now that was an oversimplification, but what a pipeline would do, as you indicated, starting maybe in middle school, but high school, a form of a cadet program would help them to attain the certifications that their competitors already have, and maybe even qualify them to get some of the same jobs in smaller police departments and fire departments like their competitors do, and it would raise their skill level to that of their competitors so that no standards are being lowered, because that's the balance that we have to achieve. When it comes to saving your lives, we cannot lower the standards. There's too much at stake. And so we have to raise the competency level of the minority candidates, and we have to help them, and we have to train them to do it. And it costs money. And one of the things that Mr. Rayford said earlier about things not working, I'm glad he didn't tell Mayor Ginther that. Mayor Ginther might have made him the safety director instead of me, because that's what I told him. What we've done for the last 30 years has not worked. It's time to do something different. And that's one of the things that impressed Mayor Ginther. And he's on board, and I think that's one of the reasons he appointed me. I think he considered me to be a pit bull about it. So,
but I need your help.
I believe we're talking about a partnership with the Columbus City Schools. About a year and a half ago, actually 3 years ago, I learned about a program that was instructed in Houston, Texas called TAPS, T-A-P-S, Teen and Police Service Academy. The chief of police there, Charles McClellan, is my best friend. And we talked often, and Chuck was concerned about kids who were in school, who were leaving early, or who, if they were lucky enough to graduate, would literally have no future because there was no direction. He tasked several of his executive staffs to find a program to help these kids. It worked. He told me about it. I said, yeah, okay, well, good luck with that. But it absolutely worked. And what it is, it's a mentorship that's done by trained police officers that are specifically trained to mentor kids today. They go to school. It's a 12 to 14-week program. We're going to start that program too, but we actually started it in high schools about a year and a half ago. Went to Independence High School and East High School, and the reaction was, I was amazed. These kids really just need somebody to care. They need to know that it's not just them against the world. We teach them how to make better decisions in their life. We teach them how to avoid drugs. We teach them how to avoid violence and gang violence. We teach them how to have more respect for themselves, their parents, and the schools. We teach them what to do if you're ever stopped by the police. The key to this whole program is when one officer sits before 5 kids at their table and they have that one-on-one conversation. The suspicions they have are dealt with. They're hopefully alleviated. The concerns they have, the questions they have. There is nothing that's done that's out of bounds. Dave Wilson, I used to be the sergeant at the police academy for a long time. Dave was one of my instructors out there. You couldn't find a better guy. So when I hear you say things like, he's this and he's that, you're absolutely correct. I knew that a few years ago when he was teaching people how to box and teaching people how to calm situations down in domestic violence runs, or just going to somebody's house and dealing with kids that are upset with their parents. This guy's amazing. Here's the kicker. He's leaving in a year. He's retiring. All right, my key is to try to find a way to bring him and guys like him back into the fold. All right, hopefully that's what we have. So yeah, we have a very active program. I have my card, I'll give it to you, and I will send you information on the TAPS program or show you where to go and find about the program. It's a phenomenal program. And we're starting it this year. We're gonna go ahead and do at least 2 middle schools and 2 high schools. But the key is the middle school. Sometimes it's too late when you get to high school, and we found that out. We found it out. But middle school is where you get these kids and you kind of redirect them. The program has been so successful in Texas that they actually teach it in 2, and Texas is a huge place, Houston's a huge city. They've instructed in 2 juvenile detention centers. And they've had, again, good luck with it, excellent results with it. So yes, we are partnering with Columbus City Schools, and we have also, by the way, we do have an Explorers program that's geared towards inner city youth. Officer Jackson runs it. We got 3 or 4 officers that are involved, but Jason is specifically going out there looking for inner city youth to become involved in law enforcement.
Thank you. Are there any other questions?
I know we have a few more questions, and maybe in the interest of time, we could probably take 4. You are next, you are next, and you are next.
Hello, how's everybody doing? My name is David Featherstone, and I am the Vice President of the Cumberland Ridge Civic Association, and I'm here with a few of the people from the community. There's 1,000 questions I could ask, and I know we're pressed on time, so I'm just going to narrow it down to 1. Who determines, or how is it determined, what neighborhoods are prospering and what neighborhoods aren't? Because kind of piggybacking on what Mr. Rayford said, is the Northeast side is not a bad side of town, but we shouldn't be punished because it's not a bad side of town. We want to prosper too. We've been out here for years, and we haven't seen hardly any development, all the way from what the president of the Civic Association, Ms. Yolanda Robinson, said, from traffic lights to sidewalks going down Cassidy, because now we have this huge UPS mail post office over here that has traffic going up and down Cassidy, and our kids have to walk up these streets. So I could continue, but that's my question. How is it determined what neighborhoods are prospering and what neighborhoods aren't prospering? Thank you.
Thank you for your question, and I think it's more of not what neighborhoods are prospering and not which ones aren't, because we want all of our neighborhoods to prosper. But I guess it determines, your question is more in the lines of how do you determine when you get certain services and what neighborhoods get get services. In terms of sidewalks and things like that, again, those are through our public service department. They have a master plan. There's also a plan through development, and so I'd be happy to sit down with you and your commission and with folks from the development department to look at some of those things. I will also say that part of the getting things done in the community is having your voice heard and being vocal about what it is you want. I remember when I was at the city before, there were a group of residents that were very concerned that there were no sidewalks out in the Southfield area. And so they were very vocal about sidewalks and their kids walking in the street on Lockbourne and Fairwood until they were able to get sidewalks and find out when they would be in the public service master plan to get those sidewalks. So I would say to you that that's the role of the area commissions and the civics. We'd be happy to sit down with you, some folks from my team, our neighborhood liaisons, to kind of prioritize what some of your concerns are, and then reach out to those departments where those projects are housed in and to work with you. Mm-hmm.
Well, I do have a rotation, and I want to make sure.
I think you guys can just get together after. We want to get as many questions asked, and then Don, are we going to have a website or something that people can go to if they have a question later on that they want to ask
Actually,
the directors?
if we have a question later on, I can supply you with comment cards that will include your name, your number, your email address, and then our directors and their staff can follow up with you after this, in addition to whatever other concerns that you have.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I just want to say thank you for Carl Williams and Ned Bridges for coming to the neighborhood. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. I am talking on behalf of second largest Somali immigrants in the state as well. We do have, always we promote diversity in the city. As you know, last few years, many years, I've been working close to Mayor Coleman to hire many diversity, officers who look like, people they represent, and I'm hoping in this city will learn something from Minneapolis. I just came back to Minnesota. They do hire many diversity officers who look like the neighborhoods. Not particularly, but I'm talking about in general diversity. When you look at the Department of Division of Fire, police, support services, all those things have to look like the community they represent. We pay tax, part of society. But I'm really, really concerned about, how traumatized what happened, the young kid who've been killed. We pass that street every single day. We are part of society, we see that. To change that, it's not on policing for the community, it's just social economic we need in terms of helping the neighborhood. Gentlemen say we need sidewalks, we need to make sure the kids are safe. I'm really encouraging that whole department has to participate from early childhood program where they really come to the police, to the neighborhood, teaching them kids to be police officers, teaching them how to be more effective, way of engaging, and encourage to be police officers, to encourage part of the society. Because like you said, examination, you look at, I observe many neighborhoods, Bexley, New Albany, Gahanna. Believe me, they are bringing early childhood programs, the police officers, safety, firefighters, and that's how they really building early children's. We've seen that tragedy happen, and police, it becomes really issues our neighborhoods. Another thing is I want to make sure that we don't want to just be policing the communities. We want to be prospective social economic boost. Because of, like you said, if you just focus on the policing, it's just monitoring people. That's what you're doing. You want to make sure that we're lifting up people to be a better community, because this next door, Gahanna, is nothing different than here, because we are the same citizens people. We should have what they have access, But my suggestion is, to encourage to be everybody, to community involved, and to be able to participate, open engagement, where they come volunteer your department, where they're helping, everybody. You can't do it alone, because we know the budgeting becomes big issues. No one can do it, But we have a very successful, all of us graduated, all have jobs, but always we involved our community to help. Not the immigrants, but everybody is one community. There is no specific community. We all about one nation. We take that oath, remember? But remember that we have to work together and make sure we change our neighborhoods to a better place to live. And like I said, no one's better, because the struggle's going through across the board. But make sure we should be impact. And I'm encouraging each one of here to be involved and make sure that you support what they're doing, these departments, because there's opportunity to all of us. Because if you're not supporting them, they can't do it. They could be tired. Because remember the budgeting. Remember when they talk about the budget, it's gone. So what are you going to do when the budget run out? We make sure that we hire volunteers that impact in the neighborhoods and make it a better place. I'm encouraging each and every one to be a part of and supporting this initiative. Thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate it. But thank you so much.
Thank you. We have time for 2 more questions. And just to reiterate, we really appreciate your turnout and the questions that you have. To Director Carlin Williams-Scott's point, these are things that we need to hear, you being vocal. So if we do not get to your question, your concern, Emerald Hernandez has comment cards that allow you to write your questions down so we can follow up with you after this event.
My name is Richard Lundy. I would like to also thank you guys for coming out. I just happened to come in here by accident. I was in here selling my book. I'd get my plug in. But the question that I have is that I had the pleasure of working for the city of Columbus back in 1973. And I was on the committee with the fire department when we wrote the affirmative action plan. I also had an opportunity to do some preliminary investigation when they were talking about civilian review boards. So I have some experience in the city government. So my question is what training is being done for the police officers? And I understand the challenges that you have when you start talking about training the police officers. So what kind of training programs dealing with diversity is mandatory for a police officer to attend?
From what I have been informed, the Columbus Division of Police requires twice the amount of training that is required by the state of Ohio. Assistant Director Bob Stewart may be able to elaborate some, but relative to diversity, the 21st century policing that President Obama has recommended and Governor Kasich has recommended, and implicit bias training and de-escalation training and scenario-based training and all of those things that have been recommended for Baltimore and the other cities that have experienced problems. It's been reported to me, even though I've only been safety director 2 months, that Columbus Police has been conducting that training here for years, that many police departments send their officers to Columbus, Ohio for training. And so from what I've learned, Columbus Police is a very progressive department, one of the best in the nation. I know Columbus Fire is. Columbus Fire was accredited in 2007 and became a model for fire departments around the world. The International Association of Fire Chiefs sent me and my wife to London, England to present on the American Fire Service because of what we accomplished in Columbus Fire, particularly getting accredited. When we got accredited in '07, only Houston, Columbus, and Nashville, Tennessee, of the 25 largest cities in America, had achieved accreditation. What didn't get publicized was that the Columbus Division of Police has been accredited since 1999, and they helped the fire department get over its final hurdles to become accredited in 2007. And so that thrust us to the pinnacle of the fire service, known all across the country, and it was Columbus Police that helped the fire department achieve that. They were one of the first major city police departments in America to achieve accreditation. Now, for private industries, colleges, hospitals, and places, you wouldn't go to a college that's not accredited. Your credits wouldn't transfer. But these were things we weren't doing in police departments and fire departments decades ago. So to know that in 2007, when Columbus Fire achieved accreditation, Columbus, Ohio became the largest city in America to have both the police department and the fire department accredited. It means they're using best practices. They're doing the best of the best here. Doesn't mean we're perfect. And the hallmark of accreditation for both police and fire is continuous improvement. Your peers come to town, they review to see if you're using best practices and everything that you say that you are doing. And then you have to submit an annual report that shows you are achieving continuous improvement. So, and that's what we continue to do. And we find gaps, and the mayor appointed people who he felt would be aggressive in bringing additional improvements to Columbus, Ohio, particularly public safety.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Stephanie Hanna. I'm a candidate for judge here in Franklin County, and my question to you is, what gaps do you see in the programming that you oversee of where the judiciary and judges can step in? Some things that come to mind for me are education components, street legal programs, that sort of thing, but I'm not aware of any formal partnership between the bench and the city. And while there's definitely restrictions on what judges can and can't do, education is something they can do. So I was just curious your thoughts on that, what gaps you see and ways that the relationship can improve so that judges can be utilized to help the community more.
Thank you for that question. As a matter of fact, Assistant Safety Director Bob Stewart took me over to the courthouse to hear the presentation, and I believe that committee was headed by Judge Brown that provided grant funding for the TAPS program. Bob, did you have additional information on the gaps between the judiciary and the city of Columbus regarding our youth?
Other than to say that there's two different entities. They work together when they have to. We take people to them, they administer justice. We don't administer justice, that's not our job. They are looking for ways, I apologize, they're looking for ways to work closer together, and the TAPS program is a prime example of that. They have other programs that they're working on that will help shorten some of the waits for court cases, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not really specific about what they are doing there, but I know for the juvenile portion, who I usually deal with, Judge Brown and Judge Gill are taking the lead on those two issues. Folks, I have a list here of all of the community engagement and outreach areas that the City of Columbus has. I'll put them over the table over here. Please take one. And it talks about all of the programs that are listed on this front page in more detail, including the TAPS program I talked about earlier. As far as training is concerned, I was a drill instructor, a training sergeant at the police academy for 15 years. We do train twice as long as the state of Ohio. In fact, the state of Ohio comes to us for recommendations on what training should be. Cultural diversity, a prime example. The director is correct. For years, we've been doing that. implicit bias. We took the lead on that. We invite members of the Somali community, the gay community, and we instruct recruits on how to respond to folks like that. You know, we have different cultures in this city. Columbus is a big city. And what we do is that we teach them how to be correct, how to address folks properly, and act in a certain way as not to offend anybody as often as that's necessary. Sometimes you have an emergency situation, you gotta do what you gotta do. But we also teach them to take their time to walk, talk, listen, and try to get that information shared.
Thank you, everyone, for coming. I would like to say to Director Pettis that there are a lot of positive things going on in the city of Columbus. I'm on minority recruiting for police and fire, so I'm sure we'll be working together. And Carla, I think we'll be working a lot together, especially with the liaisons. So again, if there are questions, please, please, please put them down on the index cards. Emerald and Don, they're really good at responding back to individuals, so your questions will be answered and you will be heard. Also, make sure you grab one of these to go to additional meetings. Today it rained, so there might be better questions at the next one or the next one or the next one.
I would like to just also add my thank you to all of you for joining us on this Wednesday evening. As I mentioned in the beginning, this is the first time we've tried something of this format. I think the questions were very rich. I think the conversation was good, and hopefully you did too. We invite your feedback and your comments. As a new administration, we want to make sure that we're connecting with members of our community on a regular basis to share information with you and then also receive your concerns, your suggestions, your recommendations. We know it's hard to physically get to meetings sometimes, so we want to also think about how we might be able to use technology, whether it's the internet or the phone, to have community conversations as well. So please look for more information about that. Again, if you did not sign in, please make sure you do so. We want to make sure we are staying in touch with you on a regular basis. I also want to acknowledge some other members of our city team who are here. We acknowledge the great work of our law enforcement personnel, and we're certainly grateful for all they do every day to protect and serve. But I also want to acknowledge, and I think everyone knows her already, but your neighborhood liaison, Lynn LaCour, member of the Department of Neighborhoods, Karim Jackson, also a member of the Department of Neighborhoods team, my colleague Emerald Hernandez from the mayor's office, and also Stephanie Harper, who was managing the microphone, and also want to acknowledge Nancy Sully from the Community Affairs team at Columbus City Council. We all stand ready to support you, to work with you, to continue to move your community and this city forward. So please do stay after if there's more conversation you'd like to have. We have our business cards. I know there was a concern raised about the bond package, but we certainly want to talk more about that and make sure that you understand that that's an opportunity to get resources for different city projects that help move our community forward. So we encourage you to get information about the bond package, which is available as well. Again, thank you for being with us, and have a great evening. Good night.
Thank you.